Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Winds. We'll be on the common route for some time, though we are chasing after Sanin, so the choices that we will be making along the way will be toward his route. But we haven't made any yet. We still have to learn our fate, as decided by the leaders of the Shinsengumi. So let's find out what that may be. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. My chest tightened and I stared down, hoping to wake up in bed with all of this only a memory. No such luck. Oh, Sanin has a cool new outfit. That's awesome looking. I mean, he looked good before, but he looks even better now. I apologize for all of this frightening behavior. Please don't let the men unsettle you. Oh. His voice was calm and warm, and I felt myself relax, even if only a little bit.
Are you serious? You're the scariest out of all of us, Sanin.
Well, he's not letting on yet. As he finished speaking, the rest of the men nodded solemnly in agreement. I wondered, who could possibly command such fear and respect from these men? Well, you're looking at him. Oh, how crude. I can understand their feelings, but for our demon of a commander to feel such as well. It is up to me to uphold the integrity of the Shinsengumi to our highest standard. It is easy to be confused, however, when our standards, or rather our taboos, are at the mercy of our own Hijikata.
It is true, but now isn't the time to be talking about this.
And the man called Sanin and Hijikata stared at one another with a smirk.
You're lucky to have a friend like Sanin, Toshi.
Hijikata and Sanin sounded distant when they spoke to one another, not exactly friendly. Still, the man who spoke, it certainly sounded as though he thought they were friends.
Oh, my apologies. I haven't introduced myself. I'm Isami Kondo, chief of the Shinsengumi.
When you say chief, do you mean to say you're the most important man in the Shinsengumi?
Well, I wouldn't call myself the most important. It is more accurate to say I represent everyone. Toshi over there is the commander, and Sanin is our colonel. Kondo, why are you telling him all this? Why? Do you think it's a bad idea?
Oh, Nagakura has a new outfit too. I think I actually liked his original better. I mean, this is alright, but I liked his original outfit better. It just suited him more.
Well, unless you think this kid should learn our secrets, maybe you should keep your mouth shut.
Exactly. Why bother anyway? We own nothing. He's just being polite.
Perhaps you all raise good points, but isn't it rude to ignore your guests?
Oh, not exactly a guest. Harada glanced over at Kondo and let out a bark of laughter. My god, look how... I think they actually resized Harada's avatar to make him look taller and beefier. Because he looks so much bigger next to Kondo there now.
True, we've already brought him in here. It's not like telling him will hurt us.
Kondo had looked rather disappointed when Hijikata spoke, but he perked up at Harada's words. Despite knowing him for 5 minutes, it's easy to see that his words resonated well with his men. He had a sort of charisma that simply drew you in, a man who was impossible to hate.
Well, let's get back to the business at hand. Can you give me a full report of last night? Last night we were on patrol when we encountered some wandering Ronin. They drew steel, so we fought. Some of our men subdued the Ronin, but in doing so exposed their failure.
As he finished, Saito turned to look at me. I didn't see anything. Even with my insistence, Hijikata continued to stare at me with a harsh glance. Saito remained expressionless, and the smile on Okita's face didn't change. Huh. You sure you didn't see anything? Yes, I didn't see anything. Really? Well, if that's true, then I don't see what the problem is.
Hold on a minute. I thought Soji said you helped out some of our men or something.
No, that's not true. I glanced over at Okita, but his smile remained. Whatever he was thinking was a mystery to me. I was running away from the Ronin, then some people with Shinsengumi uniforms appeared. Really, they sort of rescued me.
Then that means you saw them slicing up those Ronin, right?
I couldn't exactly deny that. However, I knew that choosing to stay silent would implicate me deeper than lying would.
So, in other words, you actually saw everything, the whole ugly business. You've got an honest heart. That's not really a bad thing, but...
I wasn't sure what to make of Harada's words. My presence seemed bad for the Shinsengumi. Would their next words be ones condemning me to death for being at the wrong place and time? My voice shook, but I knew I had to try. I won't tell anyone, I promise. It seems unlikely this attack was mere chance, yet it seems unlikely too that you are an enemy. Despite your good intentions, you could be taken for interrogating. Could you handle torture? Yes, I can handle torture. His voice was still warm, but his words were cold, and I began to feel my chances at life slip away.
Staying quiet is easy, but if you are captured, you would have no loyalty to us or our secrets. Yeah, we have no way of verifying your word. It wouldn't be very smart to just let you go. Well, let's just kill the kid. You want to keep someone quiet, that's the only sure way.
But that's your answer to everything, Soji.
Don't be so cold, Soji. What do we gain by murdering a civilian? Oh, don't give me that look. I was just kidding. Perhaps it should have sounded like it.
After being rebuked by Saito, Okita gave a playful smile.
But surely there must be something we can do. After all, we're talking about a child. I have no wish to kill him either, but ignoring the unlikelihood of his trustworthiness is foolish. Well, I would like to hear the commander's opinion. What do you say, Commander Hijikata? The men looked to Hijikata, listening intently. He sighed and glanced around the room. Last night, we killed members who broke our code. This kid should not have been involved at all. I imagine that puts an end to the matter for you. Well, he probably saw something, but I doubt he really understands what it was. Even so, this is serious. We have bigger things to consider. We have to keep this under wraps. If rumors spread that soldiers of the Shinsengumi are thirsty for blood, it would be problematic.
Shinpachi's words made sense to everyone. Hijikata's face looked grim.
Hey, watch your mouth. It is our responsibility to regulate all warriors who violate our code. They will be dealt with. Well, it doesn't change the fact that this kid saw something. I think Soji has a point, but still, I'll do whatever Hijikata and Kondo tell me to.
I think we ought to let him go. Then why do you look so mad? He doesn't know everything, you know. What do you mean, everything? I couldn't help but wonder aloud, and the mood in the room shifted to an icy silence. Don't ask, don't dig your grave more.
Shut it, Heisuke.
Oops, my bad.
Uh-oh. Well, this is going to make it even harder for us to simply let you go.
You're screwing me over, Heisuke.
A man should always be ready to face death. You should make your peace with yours.
A man? Oh, that's right. They still believe me to be a boy. With everything else that happened, I'd completely forgotten how I was dressed.
Very true. A brave death is always an option. When I was young, I committed honorable suicide. It didn't really stick though, did it, Sano?
Their jokes were barbaric, but they both broke into a raucous laughter.
Commander, since we can't seem to reach a consensus, can I send the child back to his room? If you hear something you shouldn't while you're here, then we'll have no choice but to kill you.
And I don't want that. He was right. If I remained with them, then I could easily hear something I wasn't supposed to. I didn't think he'd mentioned it for my sake, but rather as a possible concern for their group. I was still relieved when he brought it up.
Indeed. Let's do that. Plus, there's something that I want to look into. I agree. There are too many careless men here.
And he probably looked right at those three.
Come on, Sonnen. What are you looking at me for? That ought to be pretty obvious. We're all guilty of being careless, especially you, Heisuke.
Hey, back off! It was just a mistake, alright? I could hear Toto's voice rise as everyone turned to look at him. He looked at them for a bit, then turned to me, and mumbled in a voice I could barely hear. I'm sorry. Don't worry, it's just my life. I was still apprehensive about what they might do to me, so I couldn't quite respond to him well. But he seemed to understand, and I curtly managed to nod. It was the most I could manage.
Alright, Saito, take care of the kid. Noted. Shall we go?
Alright. Warrior record has been unlocked. After returning to my room, I'd spent some time reflecting upon my state and my still bound hands. The rumor spoke of the Shinsengumi as vicious men, but they seemed more intimate, human to me. Still, their presence, or their being, lingered through me as if to say, we are not killers, but to protect our code, we must bring death. Remaining here is only bringing me closer to the possibility of them killing me. I don't know if I can convince them to spare me. Just as I have no loyalty to them, they have no loyalty to me. Only the Shinsengumi. But then, they mentioned a man must always be ready to face death. So, are they still mistaking me for a man? Clearly. Could I possibly risk exposing my true identity in exchange for mercy on my life? But this could just as easily backfire for me, and it could exact an even worse fate. I was truly at a loss for what to do. And I must find a way to escape, which I'm sure would go really well. There was nothing for it. I had to try and escape. Meaning, I needed to get moving immediately. Staying in this room did nothing to help me. Fortunately, they hadn't bothered to tie me up completely again. Only my hands were bound. That would slow me down, certainly, but so long as I could move my legs, I stood a chance. Alright, now the exit is... I cast my memory back to when they brought me into the building the night before. Right, I'm sure it would work out. Really? You're really sure? I stood up. Holding my breath, I edged toward the door. I knew it was rude, but I had no choice but to try and open the sliding door with my toe. But I was almost there when suddenly it flew open all on its own, revealing... Hi, Kondo!
What?
Ah! I stumbled straight into Kondo.
Oh my. Well, that was rather bold. You were looking to escape, I assume.
What? No, what would give you that idea? Why would I do such a thing?
Attempting to escape was unwise. It will only make your situation more difficult.
His voice was calm and not unfriendly, but his eyes were frigid and calculating. Too late, I realized why they hadn't bothered to tie me up again. They'd been watching me.
I told you once and I won't do it again. Run and I'll gut you. Sorry, but now we gotta kill you. We can't trust a kid who can't keep a promise.
When did I promise not to try and escape? Okita smiled. He didn't look very sorry. I'm pretty sure he wasn't. I'm using a Japanese translated guide right now. It's a little hard to figure out, but I think I need to stay where I am. You won't give me a chance to explain myself? I was innocent, but complaining wasn't going to help me. Perhaps it would be best if I simply accepted my death. Then, you may do whatever you like with me. Okita roared with laughter, his shoulders shaking. The anger in my voice proved unaffecting to him. Well, it made him happy.
Oh, you're a funny one. Alright, maybe we were a little rough on you. So, just relax, okay? We aren't gonna eat you or anything.
What do you want? You were just talking about killing me. That's how he shows his affection.
Huh, I've never seen such an innocent girl like you.
Huh? A girl? So you knew I was a girl?
What? Soji, are you telling me this child is a girl? Calm down, Kondo. Really, huh? I was sure all of you caught on. Maybe not Kondo, but...
He thinks Kondo is the most clueless one in the group.
Don't tell me you knew all along, Sanin. Well, yes. She's doing her best to dress up like a boy, but it's so obvious that she's a girl. Alright. Now tell your big brother. Why were you cross-dressing around Kyoto?
Okita. Sanin shrugged and let out a loud sigh.
Maybe we should all sit down and talk this over. Some of us may have changed their opinions.
The ones who didn't realize I was a girl? There I was, surrounded once again by the leaders of the Shinsengumi.
I noticed you were rather slim, and your features were far too soft to be a man's, but to think you were a lady this whole time.
Kondo was nodding his head repeatedly, as if he were agreeing with a very intelligent suggestion. For him to notice the softness of my features, it flattered me a bit. Once you know she's a girl, she really doesn't look like a boy at all, does she?
So we bound her and left her for the whole night. Oh dear. Well, she claims to be a girl, but it's not like we have any actual proof, right?
Oh, you want to check, do ya? Proof?
Proof? Really? Not obvious enough for you, huh? Alright, will you feel better if I strip her down?
Well, if it's got to be anybody, it might as well be Harada.
No, you absolutely will not. To suggest such a thing is preposterous. I just figured it was the quickest way to settle the question, but I won't force it. Well, if you really are a girl, then killing you would just feel kinda wrong.
Well, I guess this is one case where sexism works in my favor.
Why are you so naive? It doesn't matter. If we have to kill her, she dies.
Exactly. However, her gender is irrelevant. Killing in general is wrong. We were organized to protect the citizens of Kyoto. We would ill serve the public good by murdering civilians in cold blood. Yeah. What if this girl or boy is a threat to the peace? Well, that's a horse of a different color. The Shinsengumi had already suffered a very gruesome reputation in Kyoto. If rumors spread that their men were thirsty for blood, things weren't likely to go well for them. Kyoto would banish them, and with no one to protect the people, the city would erupt into chaos. Each of their members deeply understood the consequences of behaving rashly in these times.
My apologies, but I took the liberty of checking through your belongings.
Well, if it helps me out somehow.
It would appear you came all the way from Edo, by yourself. You didn't seem to have much. Some clothing, some pocket change, a few letters, and this sword. One of the letters from Ryojin Matsumoto, a shogunate-approved doctor. I assume you saw him.
I tried.
What is your purpose? Chizuru Yukimura.
The minute my name was spoken, the vibe in the room shifted immensely. Everyone wore a stunned expression, eyes wide, and no words were uttered in response until...
Wait, Hijikata, that name!
Hey now, this can't be a coincidence.
Now wait a moment. We only need to determine if you are a threat. Will you tell us your side of the story?
At Kondo's behest, I stood up to speak. My name is Chizuru Yukimura. Under the watchful eye of the leaders, I sharply described how I came to face them, how I lived in Edo, how I'd come to Kyoto to find my father, how lonely the city felt before I arrived.
Oh, then you're from Edo as well, and you came all the way to Kyoto to find your father. So, who is your father?
Oh, come on. My father is Kodo Yukimura. How is it that everybody else realizes this but you, Kondo?
So, the dots are connected.
What are you talking about? The handwriting within the letter does indeed match Kodo's, but... To think you were Dr. Kodo's daughter. You know my father? And you guys almost killed me. The silence was enough to tell me that the revelation of my parentage caused a pronounced change in their behavior.
So, you've been withholding information from us.
Well, how was I supposed to know my father's identity was supposed to make a difference? Huh? What information are you talking about?
There's no point in lying to us now. Out with it. What the hell are you doing in Kyoto?
I just came to look for my father. I swear I don't know anything else.
You came to this city fully aware of what your father, Kodo, is doing.
I was only aware of my father being in Kyoto for his medical work, but I haven't seen him since last summer. That's all I know. Hijikata, it may be better for us not to press, because she may not know anything after all. So what do you know about my father? Where is he right now? Please tell me.
The Shinsengumi is currently attempting to determine the whereabouts of Dr. Kodo Yukimura.
You're after my father? So this means...
Oh no, you got us all wrong. We're not, after him.
I see. A huge wave of relief came over me.
He is a fellow supporter of the Shogun, but... well, he sort of disappeared a little while ago.
There's a reasonable chance that the enemies of the Shogun have identified him as a threat. I let out an audible gasp, but Saito continued without paying me any mind. There is, of course, the chance he's still alive. Doctors skilled in Western medicine are quite rare. I wasn't sure what else to do, so I nodded. My heart pounded in my chest, threatening to burst onto the floor. Kondo, what do you make of her situation? Would it be in our interest to help her, seeing as we are all looking for the same person?
What exactly do you mean, help her?
I only mean to say we should cooperate with her until we find Kodo. With her assistance, I'm sure our chances of locating Kodo will increase drastically. Huh? Looking for him may prove fruitless, however. If he's in disguise, spotting him will be difficult. You are his daughter, however. You ought to recognize him no matter how he may have disguised himself, yes? Yes, of course. I don't know, unless my father's a master of disguise. I nodded as I spoke, while giving him what I hoped seemed like a steady, reassuring smile. Besides, having her stay with us, regardless, can be of use to our headquarters.
What do you say, Yoshi? Sanin is making a lot of sense. If it turns out that she doesn't know anything after all, then...
It's true. All I know is that my father headed to Kyoto, but I don't know anything else. And about last night, I didn't see anything.
Well, she is his daughter. We can't really kill her, can we?
His eyes narrowed as he looked down at me.
If you promise to keep last night a secret, we'll let you stay until your father is found. Fair? I promise that the Shinsengumi will do whatever they can to help you find Dr. Kodo.
Thank you so much. I never imagined something like this. I was elated to have escaped death, but not only have I survived, but I found my first decent lead.
You must be glad we won't be killing you, huh? Well, we won't be killing you just yet, at any rate.
Death is still on the table. He gave me that somewhat wolfish grin. There was no denying that my situation was still less than desirable, but it didn't matter for now. Yes, I'm very glad. Against all odds, at last I found help where I'd never expected it, the Shinsengumi. My first day in Kyoto was quite the adventure. In spite of everything I'd seen, my fortune was improving with every step. I still had a long way to go, but keeping positive was my only hope.
Aren't you relieved, Yukimura? It's a pleasure to have you.
Yes, thank you. It's a pleasure for me as well.
Hey, again, with her being a lady and all, I'm not sure that our all-male household is equipped for her needs. You bring up a good point. What would you have me do?
Kondo crossed his arms and thought deeply.
Should you require anything, you need only ask. We'll do what we can to accommodate you.
Thank you.
Well, I guess we'll have to be nicer to you now that we know you're a girl.
Again, sexism works in my favor. Gee, didn't take long for you to change your tune when you saw she was a girl, eh, Shin?
Whatever. Having a lady here at headquarters is sure gonna brighten things up, won't it?
I wasn't entirely sure I believed that sentiment.
I'm not sure if our headquarters are, up to standards for a lady, however. But then again, she's not a soldier, so we cannot expect to treat her as such. And then make her a page or something. Want an assistant, Kondo? How about you, Sanin?
Oh, come on now, Hijikata. It's your idea, so you can't just pawn her off on someone else.
Ah, excellent. We can entrust Soshi with her.
Well, there you have it, Hijikata. I hope you'll take good care of her.
You sons of bitches. You can't just decide.
As I watched their back and forth, some of my earlier relief began to ebb away. And this is how the Shinsengumi had come to look after me. And let the good times begin, although they won't last very long. February 1864. Mid-February 1864. I slid the door open and met a breath of cool morning air. Clumps of thick clouds trundled silently over the city, an unusually strong wind driving them along. It's cold today. I shivered a bit and grabbed a jacket from near the door to wrap around myself. A week had passed since I'd been living in the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. I was given a room of my own, but they made it clear that I wasn't to roam freely. They weren't the best accommodations, but given how close I was to being murdered by them instead, I thought it best not to complain. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Still, do I really need to dress like this all the time? I sighed, staring at my feet on the cold floor. Well, I don't think you want to be the only female in this entire base. They'd given me temporary accommodations, but it wasn't without its strict conditions.
The Shinsengumi will look after you. but we do not allow women to simply wander our doors. The Shinsengumi keeping a woman here. If such rumors were to spread, tongues would begin to wag. Even worse, it may invite guests who are also searching for Kodo to come here, looking for you. It is still up to speculation, however, whether or not he has been taken or attacked. So many unanswered questions hovering about, all the more reason to keep recklessness at a low. In other words, you need to keep this facade as a man. Do I make myself clear?
Clear. His reasoning was sound. Perhaps more than that, I knew he was concerned not only for the Shinsengumi, but also for the safety of my father and myself. I didn't have a choice regardless, but keeping this in mind made his orders more palatable. I don't expect this to be an issue, but having a woman around could disrupt morale, so to speak. For that reason, only we, the Shinsengumi's leadership, will know the truth of your situation. It is imperative for us to keep this under wraps, for there is no telling what becomes of rumors. I understand the situation, so what should I do while I'm here?
Nothing. You're going to get a room, and you're going to stay in it.
Really? I could have sworn we decided she was going to be someone's page.
Soji, keep your tongue in your mouth, or I'll cut the thing off.
Before long, I'd been there for a week. I guess I don't have much of a choice. No sense in dwelling on what I can't do after all. Although it was still a new sensation, I've grown comfortable in dressing like a boy, particularly the feeling of wearing pants. I straightened up and touched the kodachi that Hijikata had given back to me. This was a familiar friend of mine, the blade by my hip, stretching back to as far as I can recall. According to my father, this was an important heirloom passed down through the Yukimura clan. As such, I was forced to take lessons in swordplay, making me well aware of what the blade was capable of. I had never cared much for weapons. Weapons hurt people, which is an obvious factor, but it was more than that, at least for me. For as far back as I could remember, any wounds I suffered healed at an incredible rate. Small cuts would disappear overnight. As a child, I thought nothing of it, but as I grew older, I began to realize that I was not quite normal. My father insisted it was a gift of the gods, but that I should tell no one of it. I didn't tell anyone, of course. I was afraid they would treat me like a monster if they knew. Ever since then, I'd done my best not to get hurt. I stayed as far away from blades as I could, and before I realized it, I developed a fear of them. My constant need for disguise was frustrating, but my condition left me more unsettled. Still, that wasn't the only thing on my mind. The rank-and-file soldiers treated me coldly. I'm not just imagining it, right? I learned having a private room was a privilege even for captains, for a child to arrive and receive better treatment than their own captains. No surprise, really, for the soldiers to hate me. True, I suppose I can't really blame them. I was enjoying the Shinsengumi's hospitality, and so I felt I should help them in some way, but I knew nothing of soldiers and their ways. I gave as much effort as possible, despite Hijikata's commands for me to remain in my room. How does one calm the lonely and restless mind? I think for the soldiers, whenever the captains or other officers would look out for me, it appeared as if they were giving me special treatment. They're just watching me. To make sure I keep my mouth shut, they took turns keeping watch over me. Any mistake on my part would cause huge trouble, so they were making an effort to keep me contained. Even if I could speak with the soldiers, what conversations could we share? Nothing? My only respite from any possibility of detection would be to stay alone. Again. All I wanted from this, though, was to find my father. Even though they'd promised to help me, keeping me locked here without the ability to leave was no better than being tied up. Just when it felt like I'd made some progress into my journey, my search was kept to a halt. And at that point, we'll go ahead and stop. Yeah, we got a long way to go rereading stuff that I've read in the Demon of the Fleeting Blossom videos. So those of you who are going through this with me now, hope to see you there in the next video or in some of my other ones, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.